The last piece of our RouteTracker class is the anonymous interclass object that implements onCheckChangeListener, and this is going to handle the events of our tracking toggle button to enable us to indicate when we're tracking a route and not tracking a route, respectively. Now, as you can see, one of the arguments to the onCheckChanged method is a Boolean indicating whether or not the button is checked, is selected. If it's not checked, that means we've just finished tracking a route, in which case we set tracking to false. If it is checked, we're going to be going down to the else part and setting tracking to true. So the first time the button gets touched, tracking will be set to true. We will get the system current time in milliseconds and save that as our start time. We will indicate to the route overlay object that we should reset it so that we can start a new route, which will clear off a previous route if there was one. And we tell the bearing frame layout to invalidate itself, which causes it to redraw on the screen. And of course, if it's a new route, we don't have a previous location, so we set that to null. Now, if we're finishing tracking a route, after setting tracking to false, we go ahead and get the current time in milliseconds once again and subtract from that the start time to figure out the total number of milliseconds that we were traveling. We then determine the total number of hours by doing the calculation here on line 264, and we display or set up and display a dialog that indicates the distance the user traveled in kilometers and the speed in kilometers per hour, and then similarly the distance the user traveled in miles and the speed in miles per hour, and we perform a series of calculations to figure out those values before building the message and then displaying the actual dialog.